Man that uncovers an ancient item worth millions ends up regretting it for the strangest purpose. As millionaires know, the oft-repeated lyric is "mo money, mo problems." Too many hours at work, you get burned out. Too many trips to the tanning salon, you wrinkle like a raisin. Too many Girl Scout cookies and you spend the rest of the day swigging Pepto-Bismol and ruining the day you ever open the door to that little con artist. Too much money is also very real and very dangerous. Two British men learned this for themselves when a rare discovery resulted in worldwide fame and fortune. At first, it seemed like all their problems would be solved by the influx of cash. But as time went on, one thing became very clear. You can never be too sure how a single discovery will change your life. In 2009, Terry Herbert of West Midlands, Britain, had a lot of time on his hands. The only silver lining of being unemployed, he discovered, was being able to dedicate every day to his one true love, treasure hunting. Most of his days were spent grazing through the plush fields of the West Midlands, waiting to hear the rare high-pitched beep of his metal detector. His searches usually ended in silence, until one summer day when everything changed. 14 years before that fateful July day, Terry was at a yard sale when he came across a used metal detector. It was £2.50, and it became his tool of choice over the next decade. It also led him to his fortune. And so on this day in 2009, Terry and his metal detector searched through grass and dirt for something interesting. This time he took his hunt to his friend Fred Johnson's farm. He didn't expect much to happen until he heard the aforementioned beeping. He immediately started digging, and when he came upon a small, indistinguishable object that looked a lot like gold, all he saw were dollar signs. So did the historians he called to appraise the objects. After days of digging, it was deduced that Terry had uncovered the largest collection of Anglo-Saxon treasures in British history. Every piece of misshapen gold and silver was valued at a higher price than anyone expected, least of all Terry and Fred. About 3.28 million pounds, or $4 million later, Terry and Fred were international sensations. They just had to figure out the money thing. It was a complicated situation. Sure, Terry found the loot, but it was all buried on Fred's land, so the two came to an agreement. They decided to split the money 50-50. But as the years passed, both men had time to think about their little agreement, and the more pages they turned on their calendars, the more dissatisfied both men became. In his new bungalow, Terry had a realization. Why did he have to share the money? He was not that happy with his lot, really, he said. He remembered a prophetic warning that he'd received long before he even found the treasure. 5 years before, I was warned off of it because I was told Fred would want all of anything that was found, Terry revealed. This struck him in the years following the discovery, and a decade later, he had a message for Fred. He's acting like a child and cutting his nose off to spite his face. I'm not sure we can patch things up, Terry admitted. He likened the treasure to a curse, despite it making him rich. He thinks it destroyed his friendship with Fred. A good feud has anger on both sides, and Fred more than supplied his share. I wish I'd never met the man, Fred said of Terry and his metal detector. It's caused me nothing but bother, all of this. Like Terry, Fred blames greed for ruining their friendship. Sometimes I just wish one of the poor veterinary students had found it instead, because it would have set them up for life rather than me, Fred lamented. It's true, in a twist move, Fred claimed that the money went very little to him. What he valued was hard work and loyalty, two things Terry, according to Fred, had pushed aside as soon as he heard his metal detector beep. But when Terry heard this accusation, he was quick to deny it. Sometimes I wish I'd never found that hoard, he admitted, citing the problems caused by the money. You always hear of people regretting their riches, but you never think it's true. For the two ex-friends, however, the rift the money caused is all too real, not to mention permanent. The strangest part? 3 years after Terry's lightning in a bottle discovery, the archaeologist captured lightning in a bottle once again. In an ironic turn of events, archaeologists in 2012 found even more artifacts buried underneath Fred's property, which meant more money going Terry and Fred's way. The world waited to see if the duo would use this chance to rekindle their friendship. But all the money in the world wouldn't bring them back together, and Fred's plowed fields only stirred up painful memories. Some people would write me asking permission to search, but I'd chuck the letters in the fire, he said. Even 10 years after the discovery, the duo hasn't buried the hatchet. At an event that marked the 10-year anniversary, Fred showed up without Terry. Terry was never a friend, so I haven't lost any friends, he claimed. For Fred, the most exciting part of the whole experience wasn't the money or the feud with Terry, it was the discovery itself. The money was a plus, but seeing the treasure coming out of the ground was a wonderful experience, he said. Terry and Fred's findings will change the way we think about Saxon Britain forever. Among the treasure found were golden crosses, sword hilt fittings, and numerous jewels. Some consider it a tragedy that such priceless artifacts were buried for so long. But for others, the real tragedy is Terry and Fred's ruined friendship. Yes, the history-making treasure sheds light on Britain's past, but at what cost? Some believe that everyone would be better off had the treasure never been found. But the allure of riches will always be too strong. At least that's how the eccentric Forrest Fenn, an 87-year-old in Santa Fe, New Mexico, saw it. He, along with his wife Peggy, dealt artworks and antiques out of a high-end gallery, and he tore his community apart with promises of gold. He receives 90 emails per day, none of which inquire about the exotic items in his personal collection, like a mummified falcon from King Tut's tomb, or Sitting Bull's peace pipe, to name a few. They don't talk about the paintings he sold either. Instead, they ask about hidden treasure. See, a few decades ago, in 1998, Forrest faced mortality in a serious way. Diagnosed with terminal kidney cancer, he wanted to leave his mark on the world in a meaningful way. So he plotted a crazy scheme. Bring treasure into the mountains and die beside it. Amazingly, Forrest beat cancer, so he shelved the treasure idea, at least for a few decades. On his 80th birthday, however, in the thick of an intense American recession, Forrest revisited the idea. Lots of people were losing their jobs, Forrest recalled. Despair was written all over the headlines, and I just wanted to give some people hope. Treasure could be that hope. Who doesn't secretly wish to find treasure and strike it rich? So the 80-year-old man loaded a 10-inch by 10-inch Romanesque box into the back of his sedan and stuffed an estimated $2 to $5 million worth of jewels, trinkets, and gold coins into a backpack. Then he started to drive. He drove into the Rocky Mountains before parking his car and making 2 short trips on foot. One where he carried the box to the hiding spot, another to bring the jewels to that box. He hid the 42-pound chest, but don't say I buried it, he added cryptically. Curious treasure hunters now send him emails pleading for more information as to where the treasure might be. Sometimes Forrest gives little hints, but most of the time he lets the major clue he left behind do the talking. Forrest published the memoir titled The Thrill of the Chase, a book once found only in a single New Mexico bookstore. On page 132 of the memoir, he included a cryptic 24-line poem that points towards the treasure's final hiding spot. It goes like this. As I've gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. From there it's no place for the meek, the end is ever drawing nigh. There's no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, quickly look down, your guest to cease. But tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answer I already know. I've done it tired and now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. Naturally, people were stumped by the poem, which Forrest insisted contained 9 distinct clues as to the treasure's location. Dedicated communities pooled their resources, playing at Indiana Jones in the hopes they could find the treasure. As of July 2018, the treasure remained unfound, but the search wasn't a zero-sum game for all adventurers and amateur travel hunters. For instance, Dal Neitzel of Washington, shown here, managed a TV station by day, but by night. Dal made 70 trips to the Rockies over the years, searching for the treasure, and led a blog titled The Thrill of the Chase. Sound familiar? An online forum for people discussing the hunt. He, like many others, was thrilled by the adventure. Another treasure hunter claimed clues from the poem guided her to the Christ of the Mines shrine in Silverton, Colorado. She didn't find the treasure there, but she found the eternal love of Christ, a spiritual